Welcome weirdos back to my channel. My name is EmmaAbe and today I will be doing the nonfiction on BookTube Tag. I was tagged by two people. I was tagged by Jody Funk and Lukesh from Totally Pretentious. Please yell at me in the comments if I mispronounced your name. Originally I was not going to plan on making this video until about December-ish, but you guys kind of gave me a kick in the ass to actually do it. So here we are sitting down and actually filming this video. The nonfiction on BookTube Tag was created by Olive at a Book Olive. I'll leave that information in the description below. Thank you, Olive, for creating this tag. I think all of us nonfiction booktubers appreciate it because we, contrary to popular belief, we exist. We're here, we're alive, we talk about it. BookTube is not all YA. As much as we love YA, it's not the only thing on this platform. The first question for this tag video is, how much nonfiction do you read? And I actually went through and updated my Goodreads so I could actually give you guys statistics. So out of the 27 books I've read since joining YouTube, 20 of the 27 books have been nonfiction, and that winds up to be about 74%. So that's still a passing grade, you know, the C. I'm very happy with that number. I don't really care about exactly how many books I read that are nonfiction and how many are fiction. I just like to read books. That number does not count any of the books that I've read since November started. The second question is, what kind of nonfiction content do you create or want to create? I am still finding my voice and finding exactly what styles work best for me. I feature nonfiction in practically almost every single video that I've created, whether that be like wrap-up or TBRs, hauls. I usually pick up mostly nonfiction with some fiction, and usually in tags, depending on what the tag is, I will talk about nonfiction books. Some ideas that I have is specifically involving this book, Live Long and Evolve by Mohammed A.F. Noor. This takes episodes from Star Trek and talks about the themes and stuff and the science behind it, and I'm really excited to read this book, but I've been holding off reading it because I want to make like a video about reading it and then watching the Star Trek episodes that correspond to it. So that is probably going to happen in December or January. Other things I've been thinking about doing is I want to do a series talking more about disability and like my experience with disability, and one potential video is sitting down talking with my parents and having them talk about the books that they read when I was little to help them manage disability. In order for that to happen, a couple things need to happen. I need to tell my parents, first of all, and second, I need to get them okay with being on YouTube. Maybe I could just ask them to give me a list and their thoughts, but I think it would be kind of nice for you guys to see my parents and my parents' specific thoughts. Another thing that I want to do is content that is more educational, sort of talking about different topics, but I am struggling to figure out exactly how I want to do that. I'm not really sure how to go about that yet. I'm still figuring that out. Other things, since I will be going to China, which I'm so excited about, hoping to create some content talking more about nonfiction books in related to me prepping to go to China, reading books about Chinese history, maybe reading books about like modern Chinese society. Another thing I want to do is create recommendations for nice beginner books for people who are interested in anthropology. I need to consult some people about that and figure out how exactly I want to structure that, whether I want to target it towards people who have absolutely no idea what anthropology is, or literature and academia for people who are super into anthropology. The third question is, what is your favorite subgenre of nonfiction? And that's a hard one for me. I like lots of nonfiction. I've been really into science books lately, especially when they have to do with evolution and genetics and biology. Another genre I really like is just like biography, general like history things, because I love history. I also really like social science stuff, especially anthropology. This is gonna bug me. Those are the genres that I like. The fourth question is, do you have a favorite nonfiction book? I'm gonna say no, because favorites are a very hard thing for me to choose in general. I have favorite subject matters that I like to talk about. It's pretty safe to say that I don't have like one book that I really like. Nonfiction is just so vast. It's really hard to choose just one book that is the best. No. it's too hard for me to choose one. I typically can choose like out of the books that I've read in a month. I feel the same way when just trying to choose my favorite book in general. How can you even do that? The fifth question is, what do you think keeps people from wanting to read nonfiction? I think the perception of nonfiction, especially when it comes to history, is that it's all names, dates, and facts. That is not true. It's a story. It's all in the presentation of the story. Most people that I have met that don't like nonfiction generally have it portrayed in a very poor way with a poor writer, and it's just all presented as like this happened, then that happened. You never really get to know the people. You don't get the story and the narrative in that. It's really unfortunate. That's why I think movies and musicals that are about historic events tend to grab people in more rather than books. That's what I see happening, and I think that can contribute to why people don't want to read nonfiction. Also, I just think people think it's boring. They don't like to be told what to read. So when you have to read your textbook for your history class, it's gonna turn people off. And I completely understand where they're coming from. I've read some nonfiction books that I've been like, oh my god, I do not like this. This is not written well. And it kind of turns me off of that subject for a hot second. The sixth question is, why do you like nonfiction? I love learning. That's the big thing for me. I am a lifelong learner. I foresee myself to be permanently in a school, not only because I want to be a teacher, but also because the path I want to go down academically seems to be never ending. Nonfiction is great for me because you can learn and have like this deep dive into this certain subject. For me, especially with the help of audiobooks, that it's a wonderful way for me to just dive into a subject. Learning is a big thing for me. I find that more interesting than going and reading a fiction book. Nonfiction is great. Read some. Question 7 is, what is a nonfiction you've read because of BookTube? And I would say, as of right now, other than stuff that I've read for readathons, there really isn't anyone other than the Radium Girls, maybe. I don't know. I will say that I am a judge for the BookTube prize. I've signed up for the nonfiction category, so I will be reading a butt ton of books about nonfiction, which I'm really excited for, all because of BookTube. I tend to read the books that I have on my shelves and with me in the massive piles I have behind/around me, and that's typically where I get most of my reading options from. Sometimes there will be reasons to read them, and those will be BookTube related. Question 8 is, what is the best nonfiction book you've read recently? I have a stack of books. I keep bookshelf on my Goodreads that I attempt to keep up to date. That is my favorite book. It has 5 books that I will show you right now. We're kind of going in whatever order that I pulled them out of my I have read pile. First one is Guns, Germs, and Steel, The Fates of Human Societies by Jared Diamond. I read this in October, so if you want to head over to my October wrap-up, you can hear all my thoughts on this book. Audiobook. This has an audiobook. Second book is The Gene by Siddhartha Mukherjee. I think, when did I read this? I don't know. This also has an audiobook. I think I read this in July. I will link that in the description, and you can go to my July wrap-up to see my thoughts on this book. Next book I want to talk about is Little Princes, One Man's Promise to Bring Home the Lost Children of Nepal by Connor Brennan. This I read in September. I will link that wrap-up video in the comments so you can get my thoughts on this one. This one has an audiobook. The next one I'm going to talk about is 1,000 Miles to Freedom, My Escape from North Korea by In-Young Kim with Sebastian Faletti, translated by David Tian. This one I believe I also read in September. This one has an audiobook. Maybe I read this in August. Maybe I read this in August. I have no freaking clue when I read these books, guys. This is a problem. But I will link that down below. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lack by Rebecca Skloot. And I'm pretty sure I read this in September. Maybe it was August. Oh my god. I am going crazy. This one has an audiobook. I probably messed up on half of those, but I will link all of the timestamps to the videos. There are 5 books that I recently read since joining BookTube. Question 9 is, what are some of your nonfiction reading goals? I don't have any specific reading goals laid out other than in Nonfiction November reading the obscene amount of books that I've decided to heap upon myself. I'm not worried about that at all. Yes, I think about it all the time. It stresses me out a lot. I've decided to read 9 books just for the Nonfiction November readathon. One of them I'm already thinking about just not reading because it's 400 pages and it doesn't have an audiobook, and that stresses me out. And then I have an undetermined amount of books that I want to read for the Indigathon. I've read 1 for that, and I want to read at least 1 more. So, I'm reading the Percy Jackson series with Mike Sullivan in his Caravan read-along thing, which is like the one nonfiction thing I think I'm going to be reading, besides Sea of Monsters, which is the next book we're reading in our book club. Links for all of this stuff will be in the description below. And then I've also decided to do something with Bruce Reads Books and reading Founding Brothers. So I'm not at all stressed out this month. 14 books that I'm kind of trying to read this month. At the same time, this is being a very, very crazy month for university, so I'm not stressed out at all. I don't know what you guys are accusing me of. Beyond that, it's just gonna be where the wind takes me. Other reading goals in general that I have is to read at least 1 book every month that does not have an audiobook. And I've done that for this month. Yay! Except I'm planning on reading more books that don't have audiobooks, so woohoo. Lots of those books that I want to read that don't have audiobooks are nonfiction, so I guess that is kind of a nonfiction goal that I have for myself. If you don't know how my system works, here, all this stuff with the stickers means there's no audiobook for it, and there's at least 4 you can easily see from this part of my bookshelf that does not have an audiobook, and all of those are nonfiction. That tends to be the case, is that more nonfiction, especially anthropology nonfiction, don't have audiobooks. What is your advice for incorporating more nonfiction into your reading diet? I feel like I'm going to be a broken record, and I don't know if I can bring anything different that people have already said in this tag, but for me, what helped me was if I would be watching a fiction show that was set in a historical time period, I would go read books about it to learn more about the time, to figure out, okay, how much of this movie or this TV show am I watching is actually grounded in reality. I think that's a good place to start. Another really good place to start is finding something you're interested in and going that way. So if you're interested in women's history, maybe get a book that's 100 famous women in history. See if any of those women in particularly interest you, and then find more information about that person. Don't dive in head first. Look at what you watch on YouTube. If reading a whole book is daunting to you, maybe go and look at different articles or start off with podcasts. As much as I want to say, listen to all of my recommendations and all of my fellow booktubers' recommendations, it really has to be your particular reading tastes and what you're interested in, because what I'm interested in may be very different from what you're interested in. I heard someone else's recommendation is start off with something you already know a little bit about and then grow from there, but go slowly. You're not going to become an expert overnight. I know I was not. It took me several years for me to become really comfortable with nonfiction and love reading it. We have come to the end of the tag, to where it is the bonus question, and that is, give some recommendations on channels you love. There are so many good nonfiction channels out there. I think a really, really great resource is actually the Nonfiction on BookTube Tag playlist that A Book Olive has created. You will find some amazing, amazing creators. I feel like anyone that I will say has already been said, and now going on to the next little section is tagging people. There are so many people who've already done this tag that anyone that I think of has already done it. The one person that I really haven't seen do it that I think should do it, and that is Bruce Reads Books. He does a lot of nonfiction on his channel. He also does lots of science fiction, Star Wars, that sort of stuff. He's got a great channel. He is the one nonfiction booktuber that I interact with on a fairly regular basis that has not done this. What are you doing, Bruce? Get on this. I know it's winter there and it's snowing, so you have no excuse not to film this tag. If you view yourself as a nonfiction reader and you have not been tagged at all, then tag yourself and do it. Be added to this wonderful community of nonfiction on BookTube. Well, thank you guys for sitting through this video with me. If you liked it, give it a like, share it maybe, subscribe. If you have any questions or anything, leave them down below in the comments. Alright, I'll see you next week. What am I even saying? I don't really know. My brain is backfiring on me right now. What is my phone telling me? Snapchat stuff.